What is up, guys? We're doing another voiceover video for the Powerbuilder series, and today we are going over some of the film, talking a little bit about technique, but also talking about what kind of goes on in my mind as I lift. So, I have been really struggling, hitting depth throughout this program. That squat right there, I was able to hit depth. But today in my program, I really wanted to, not focus so much on the weight and not focus on what my coach had, or sorry, not my coach, what my program had said to do, but really to focus in on just being able to hit depth. One of the biggest things is when you have a fight or flight moment and you hit the flight button, you really do lose your confidence. I know I said it in the last video, but that was the thing that I was struggling with. I was struggling with, the self-belief, and you can't have that kind of a mindset when you're lifting. I say this and I say it all the time. In lifting, the strongest thing you need is your mind. Your mind has to be your strongest weapon, and I needed to gain that confidence back. So I asked both of these gentlemen to, spot me for a squat. And the reason why is that, just having, some people there kind of, for me, took away the pressure and anxiety, knowing like, hey, dude, you're going to be fine. Like, these are weights you've been hitting since you were, before freshman in college, so senior in high school. So it's just like, bro, just calm down. So just having people there was good. They were able to help me. And all I said, just one. I don't need you to hit a home run. I just need you to get a single. Just a single, And that's what I love about the gym, the camaraderie, the guys helping me and supporting me. So was able to get that done. And then after that, this is kind of my first back off set. So this is the first time this has really happened to me. But I really struggled with, kind of getting excited for my back off sets. And the back off sets is where a lot of the growth happens, right? The back off sets is where it's the road work, right? But I feel like, lately I've been kind of having like an adrenaline dump where it's like the top set and then the back off sets are kind of just there in the background. But what's nice about the back off sets is that the weight's lighter and the central nervous system is so jacked up from having a heavier weight on your back, or maybe you might be benching or having heavier weights in your hand, that when you go to that lighter weight, it kind of feels lighter. It kind of sounds bro sciencey, but unless if you've done it, you kind of know what I'm talking about. So let's talk about some of the technique stuff. So one of the things you guys will notice me do is I will squat under these little small plates. I lost the squatting platform halfway throughout this program. Because obviously I filmed these like after, I guess, like not like too far after, but yeah. I squat on these little plates, and that really helps me increase ankle dorsiflexion. So it makes the squat feel a little bit more natural, and it does help some individuals, get hitting depth and being really able to get into the hole. One of the things that I think about when I squat is also pushing my back into the bar. So yes, obviously you drive through your heels, and driving through your heels is very, very important. But I'm also thinking about pushing my back up against the bar. Another thing that I also really try to hit and emphasize is head placement, right? So it's a really weird concept to think about when you squat, but for me personally, I typically tend to lean a little bit forward when I squat, and that's because my hips are really tight, and then I also have really long legs in juxtaposition to my upper body. So what I've found is that I need to really like stare at a spot on the ground, and then from there, that'll help me avoid the tendency or really the desire to tip too forward or tip too back, because my focus and my attention is on that one spot, right? You don't want to be moving your head around when you're squatting. You want to keep it nice and straight and nice and narrow. Think of that as the equivalent to when someone tells you don't move your feet when you're benching. I don't know if that might be a good example, because when you move your feet while you're benching, you're really losing a lot of energy. Here, the whole entire notion is to keep your head straight. So effectively, your spine is straight and your body is able to perform the biomechanics so that you're not losing balance as you perform the exercise. I don't know what happened here. This is the next day, guys. Or the next training session. The film just cut out here for a second. I don't know why I did that. But maybe it didn't. But yeah, guys. So one of the biggest things too that I like to think about is like owning that walkout, right? I don't think I do a really good job of the walking out of the weight, right? So when you walk out with weight, the whole idea is to not waste energy. I talked about wasting energy just a couple seconds ago, but it's with the squat, that's the equivalent of not wasting energy. So you see how I do all these little steps? Some of that's natural because, right, I'm not really wearing squat shoes. I'm wearing I'm using those little plates, but in a reality, in a perfect world, you really should only need about like 4 steps to walk out. Right? If you watch some of the really, really best guys in the world, they don't use that many steps walking out. And, it's just like something that you need to kind of master is walking out. A lot of the guys who are really good at this, they'll tell you, like, the hardest part isn't even like squatting 600 pounds or squatting 700 pounds. The hardest part is damn near just having weights like that on your back because it's just so awkward. It's so unnatural. And that's what a part of like programming training for 10 weeks is. It's like getting your body used to having those weights in your hands or on your back. It's so funny watching film sometimes because when you watch film, it's hard to tell, but yeah, that squat felt so awful. I remember, this whole entire training session, like how I felt. And it's weird, like you watch something and it might not look that bad, but when it's going on and you're just like, ow, like, oh my goodness. And, that's been really like plaguing me and giving me a really hard time is just like how painful my joints and body feel from lifting these weights. Another thing that I will also emphasize while performing these squats is kind of how wide your stance is as you start using heavier weights. So this is something I kind of learned recently, and I wasn't really able to implement too much while in this, while in these training days, I wasn't able to implement it, but kind of having a little bit more of a wider stance, because when you have a wider stance, it actually does take off some of that pressure off the hip. And for me, like everybody, I don't care who you ask, you can perform a lift to the best of your ability. Some of these weights, you're really not, like the human body's not designed to lift them. So it's like, you're kind of going to have a couple nicks and be banged up a little bit. I've heard some of these top guys talk and they're like, yeah, it's like, it's not even a form thing. Sometimes it's just like, dude, like the human body's really not designed to be lifting those weights. And if you're doing it frequently all the time, it's like getting into a little car crash every time. So it's like your body will get nipped up. So it's like, how can you change your form a little bit so that your body has less wear and tear? And it's like, that's something even right now as I make this video, I'm still learning and I'm still teaching myself. But yeah, another thing too that I haven't really been able to talk about too much with technique is snapping my elbows down. It's very weird to think like when you're squatting, why would I ever need to like warm up my shoulders or my upper back or anything like that? But it's like, it's a very good thing to do also. So guys, next I'm also doing some sumo deadlifts. I never trained sumo deadlifts. This was on my program for the day and I was like, it was like an option. It was like, do you want to do sumo deadlifts? And before I did this set, I did like, I can't remember, maybe like 400 for 10 or something like that. And I was like, whoa, like, hey, I'm not that bad at this. I've never really sumo deadlifted. Like there's only been a handful of times that I've been in this sumo deadlifting position with 2 double overhand grips. I know I talked about recently, training and working up to getting used to those weights, but this is something that I just don't do. And I was like really shocked, like, whoa, I didn't even know I could do this. And I know some people are gonna like crap on it. They're going to be like, bro, it's sumo, it's no big deal, you know? But, you know, I think the same principles still apply when you do sumo. In juxtaposition with if you're doing a conventional deadlift, you still need to be, you know, pushing your feet into the floor. So it's that idea that, yes, it is a pulling movement, but I'm pushing my body away. Something else that I also like to think about is snapping my hips through the ground. Something an old powerlifting coach said years ago, and try to get your dick to the judge's face. I know that's really blunt and weird, but yeah, like, bring your dick to the judge's face. Guys, this is not frozen, by the way, in the video. This is just me laying on the floor. I'm just gassed. I had no intentions of doing that. I wasn't even supposed to do that, but, you know, sometimes you just got to try things in the gym. You don't really know where you are if you don't try. So, yeah, that was pretty much that for the day, and I'm done.
Oh, what is up, YouTube? This is going to be a little bit different in the part of the series where I'm just kind of talking to you guys about like how everything that I'm experiencing in training, and I kind of just want to talk about that because the last couple training sessions have been really difficult, but I want to talk about kind of where I'm going, where I'm at, and pretty much how it can be applicable to you guys. For starters, I have been squatting, and I've been squatting and working on my depth, and that has been, you know, something that has been plaguing me as I've been going out through the last couple months of training. And I think it really stems from me failing a rep, because it's not often that I fail on the squat. But yeah, normally if I really quote unquote fail, it's because I can't do any more of the reps that are prescribed in my program, or that I should be hitting in the block. But it's very rare that I completely fail. And when I failed, I kind of went into this fight or flight state where I got nervous. Like, I got nervous to hit depth and get low because I feared that I wouldn't be getting back up. And you know, those weights, at the end of the day, they are crippling weights. And I knock on wood, hopefully that never happens. Pray to God that never happens. But that is the reality of it. But yeah, like, anyways, lately, you know, I've been hitting my top set, but my back off sets have been going really, really poorly. And I think I need to kind of sit back and reflect on why that is happening, like why this block is going so poorly, because my last other blocks have gone well. You know, I told you guys that I would always use a technique called ramping, which is effectively taking the lightest weight with doing the most most amount of reps, and then going up in weight but doing less reps. And lately I've actually switched to where I'm kind of going up to the heaviest weight and then backing off. But lately I've been missing a lot of my back off sets, and I don't think it's because, like, I don't think I'm weaker per se, and I will kind of talk about that in a second, but I think a lot of it also just stems from like having an exhaustion dump. So I get really excited once I hit my top set, and then once I go to my back off sets, I get really like lackluster, and I don't take them as intensely or as seriously. And the truth of the matter is, all of it matters, none of the sets, every set should be taken, I guess, with the same amount of detail, precision, care, if you want to, quote unquote. I don't know what words to use right now. It's kind of early in the morning, but yeah, like, I just didn't really perform well. And something else that I've been thinking about is, when you're on program, everything is programmed out so that you shouldn't be missing the weights, and that you should be able to hit them. And what I've noticed for me personally is that there's less work being done. Like, I'm asking myself to do less workouts, less exercises, but the reason why is because I do believe that more isn't always better, just better is better. What I was going to say is that there's another saying that I believe is that you have to work smarter, not harder. But just because you're working smarter, it doesn't mean that you're not supposed to be working as hard. And I feel like lately, since I've been backing off, I've kind of not been working as hard. Like, I'm working out, but like, I'm not, you know, doing leg extensions and leg curls as much. And I think that maybe I do need to incorporate those exercises back into my programming. It's just weird because I don't like to really, once I have a plan, I like to stick to the plan and execute it throughout the full entire 12 weeks. But I don't want, these 12 weeks to go to waste in a weird way. So it's a very weird thing where I'm like, to what extent do I start adding additional exercises? Because if I finish another program and then I just land at, a 620 squat again, it's like, dude, what did those 3 months really mean? So I don't know. Those are the things that I'm kind of thinking about. And finally, the last thing that I'm thinking about that I do think is applicable to every single person is oftentimes as lifters, we always think about, how did my form get better? How did the weight go up? We're so focused on those things that we sometimes forget to question ourselves, like, how has my mind developed in the last 3 months? So that's something else that I've been asking myself, like, how has my mind gotten better and stronger in these last 3 months? Because, yeah, the form's getting better. You're taking the weight through the full range of motion. You're executing for the most part. You've been hitting the weights that you're supposed to hit, except for this last training block, which has been a little scattery. But for the most part, you've been doing the work. So the last question that you really need to ask yourself is, like, how's your mind developed in these last couple of months? And I think that's a question that, as a lifter, you have to consistently be asking yourself. But, I mean, today wasn't that much of a lifting day, or at least me filming the lifting. Today was just kind of me talking and, venting to you guys. But, as always, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys at the top.